Welcome to the Fox and Fish podcast, your home for everything spooky, creepy, and horrifying. My name is Phinn, aka the Fish.
And my name is Kirrianna, aka the Fox.
So, so we're bad at, like, remembering stuff.
Everything.
Yeah. So this episode is not actually researched, really.
I know I talked about doing Roanoke Ridge. I'm still doing Roanoke Ridge.
Yes.
This won't be that, but another one will.
Yeah, so,
That's 100% on me and my bad, and I am so sorry if anybody was looking forward to this weekend being Roanoke Ridge.
yeah. So what's gonna happen is, Kirrianna just kind of picked a topic based on a game she is currently playing a lot of.
Yeah.
And, it is a horror topic, and we were kind of, like, spitballing a bunch of other things that we know about this, said topic, and kind of just decided to make just sort of a, I guess, casual conversation about it. And because we are very forgetful people, I think this might be, like, our kind of, oh shit, we either didn't have time to do research, or we completely forgot and didn't get to it until later, whatever the case may be. To just have, like, a topic or maybe, like, a review of a horror-based media that we both like, or that, you know, one of us likes, whoever's doing the episode. So we're going to talk about what now?
We are going to be talking about body horror.
Body horror, ooh. And the game that you have been playing that's given you this.
Yeah, lately I've been really into playing Elden Ring again. For the third, fourth playthrough, something like that. Well, I did, like, 2.5 playthroughs, I guess. Maybe not even that, quite.
And I don't know as much about Elden Ring as you. I haven't played the game nearly as much. I'm not the biggest fan of it. The FromSoft, like, Dark Souls games, they're okay. They're just not my favorite.
Just gameplay-wise, mostly?
Yeah, gameplay-wise. I'm not, like, the biggest fan of, rage game kind of stuff like that. And I would consider FromSoft games, like the Dark Souls series and stuff, rage games. Like, they're so difficult and at sometimes unfair feeling to me anyway. But that's also because the way that I want to play the game is really bad, and it makes me upset.
It's not bad, it's just
ineffective.
Yeah,
and that makes me upset.
I think with enough patience and sticking with it, you could get there, but if that process is more painful than entertaining, then I would say it's not worth it for you.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like.
Which is fine. It's not... I give you shit for it, for sure. And, you know, the whole get good meme around FromSoft games, I throw that at you all the time. But, like, you know, for real, like, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing.
Yeah. So what part of Elden Ring actually has body horror? I can only think of maybe one character or, like, area that I can think of that I've seen that might be body horror, but I don't even remember if it is or not.
Oh, there are so many examples of body horror in Elden Ring. Almost every single, like, big player in the world of Elden Ring features some facet of body horror.
Okay. Let's go then. Let's talk about it.
Well, I believe this is all off the cuff completely, by the way.
Yeah, we are just talking about a horror thing that we both are interested in, and neither of us have prepared for this other than just, like, talking about it for, like, 5 to 10 minutes before we started the podcast.
Yeah, this is all off the cuff, no research, just our own experiences with what we're talking about. Which we've been talking about doing an episode like this anyway. Yeah. So it's just kind of a good opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
But, you fought Godric the Grafted, right? You already got into that part?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is actually... That's
perfect body horror right there.
That's...
I mean, he literally, like... I don't know if you found this NPC, but there's an NPC that, like, her and her party... Their whole purpose was to go to Godric to get grafted.
Yeah.
You met her, the chick with the red hood?
Yeah.
Yeah. what's her name? Oh, I can't remember.
I don't remember. Like, she's right outside the area.
Roderica. Her name's Roderica. She becomes the spirit tuner.
Yes.
There will be heavy spoilers for Elden Ring if you care about that and haven't played it yet.
And probably just other movies or games or whatever.
We're probably going to discuss Dead Space as well, which has been out for a long time. Even the remake has been out for a while.
Even Elden Ring has been out for years now.
That's true. But just know that we are not going to be giving spoiler warnings from, like,
this point
here on. This is just a general, like, there will be spoilers.
Anytime we bring up something, there might be spoilers for it.
So just be cautious. Because I hate getting spoiled, so I understand. But yeah, fucking Godric is fucked, dude. Like, he's got just hands galore everywhere, just body parts everywhere, all over his body, and, like, for him, it's this very, like, in lore-wise, he's very, he's like a distant relative of the Golden Order, which is, like, the main religion of the Lands Between, which is the area that you explore and where the game takes place. But, especially his second phase, where he, like, chops his fucking hand off. I remember, because when my first playthrough, I went in completely blind. I didn't look, like, once I saw that the game was coming out, I didn't look at any of the promotional material, any of the trailers, nothing. Yep. Absolute, complete media blackout. Like me. Yeah. So, when I first got to him, and he was pretty difficult, and I was used to the, like, old Dark Souls philosophy of, like, anything is beatable as long as you just keep at it and learn the moveset and, like, just you gotta get good. Yeah. But Elden Ring isn't like that so much, which I did not understand from my first playthrough. Elden Ring is kind of like that, but it also rewards exploration more, because if you, I think, find patches, you can get what's called Margit's Shackle, that literally, like, pins him to the ground.
I don't think that's Godric.
Oh, I'm thinking... Well, I think Godric has one, too.
Oh, he does?
I'm thinking of Margit, which is after him. But yeah, Godric has one, too, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought Margit was before him.
Am I thinking... No, yeah, Godric the Grafted. No, Margit's after Godric, isn't he?
I don't... You played it more than I have.
I'm fairly certain Margit's after him.
Yeah.
They're kind of similar, so I get them confused. Because, like I said, I've only done, like, 2 playthroughs, and one of them wasn't even complete, so, like... And it's such a fucking big game. Like, there's so much shit. But, yeah, his second phase, I remember very vividly, because when I was going up against him, I was probably underleveled, and the animations for attacks for bosses in Elden Ring is so different, because, like, in Dark Souls, everything was such exact timing, especially in the early Dark Souls. Like, they kind of switched it up in 3, but Elden Ring really switches it up, and Godric's attacks are, like, wildly varied. Some of them come out, like, immediately, and some of them are, like, fucking, like, 3 or 4 beats off from what you expected, because the wind-up starts, and then the actual attack doesn't happen until you've rolled 4 times, and then by the time you're stuck in the 4th rolling animation, you realize that you mistimed it, and he smacks you anyway. Yeah. But, that second phase is seared into my mind, because once he reaches a certain health threshold, that cutscene triggers, and he fucking chops his arm off with an axe. But the first hit doesn't chop it off all the way. Yeah, that's right. So it's like his arm is stuck on the ground, and the axe is on his arm, and he's like, ah! That fucking scream is seared into my mind, and then he pulls up the axe and finally chops the arm off, and then it's just this close-up of this fucking blood-spurting stump. And then he grafts a fucking dragon head onto his arm and like, you can see the moment it gets grafted, like, the fucking dragon looks dead as hell, because, like, the jaw is, like, catty corner on the floor. Like, the bottom jaw is, like, completely slack and, like, moving perpendicular to the top jaw. And then all of a sudden it just kind of, like, animates slowly and comes to life, and then, like, the eyes open and it starts breathing fire, and it's just like, so much heebie-jeebies. And then the fear of, like, having to face this boss that was already so difficult with a fucking dragon arm, and he opens up with like this big fucking wave of fire every time. I'm pretty sure that's scripted.
It's a scripted attack.
And it just, oh god, the combination of gameplay and cutscene horror in that fight is fantastic.
Elden Ring is good for that. That is definitely like a thing. A lot of like horror fans love Elden Ring, which is kind of funny that I'm not the biggest fan of it, just gameplay wise, like we already talked about. Also, while you were talking, I brought up just because I wanted to actually like at least describe what we actually mean when we say body horror. I realized we just kind of like said it and didn't even describe what it is. It kind of speaks for itself, but I did just bring up like the essentially like the wiki for like the definition of body horror. It's basically it's also short for biological horror. It's a subgenre of horror, and this is straight from the wiki, that intentionally showcases grotesque or psychologically disturbing violations of the human body or to any other creature. And that's literally just what you would think it is. Just like mutilation, zombification is considered body horror in some ways. Just gratuitous violence in general, disease, transformations, anything that like changes or alters your body. But then there is also some other forms of like quote unquote body horror. There's a movie, I haven't seen the full movie, I've seen like bits of it, called Upgrade. Some people consider it body horror, and I think it's an interesting topic. It's not body horror in the way you would think. It's kind of, I would say, almost cyberpunky. If I remember the actual story correctly, it's like this guy gets like a chip or something implanted into him, and it has like an AI, I think, or something that like controls his body. So when this like AI takes over, he literally just loses all control over his body and it becomes very robotic, and it also seems to like extremely enhance his strength and stuff, but he has no control over anything he's doing. Oh, and people say like because of that loss of control of his own body, even though it's not like, you know, I don't think he ever gets like mangled or anything because of this AI. Like it literally controls him for when he's like fighting people and shit like that. But the fact that he is just basically watching himself do something he's not actually doing is a terrifying idea of body horror. And I think that's brilliant. Like kind of changing the definition a little bit of what it actually is.
Yeah, that reminds me of in like Cyberpunk 2077 where you
with Johnny.
Yeah, well, with Johnny, yes, but also when you take back Clouds with Judy. How she modifies the doll chips with like a fucking kung fu program.
Yeah, it's like a combat program for the doll chips. Yeah. That's right.
And they describe the feeling of having that chip active in that way as feeling like cyberpsychosis.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a little detail I missed on my first 6 playthroughs of the game.
Wow. First 6 playthroughs?
I love Cyberpunk so much.
Yeah, you do. It's good.
Oh, that's actually another good one for some body horror too. I can think of a few examples.
Oh yeah,
like the Ritual.
Cyberpunk in general. That idea is like, it really does play with the idea of body horror, like cyber modifications and stuff. I think it does a better job in the anime when we watch David get like the Sandevistan implanted. Oh yeah. That especially is like kind of terrifying.
Seeing the actual operation like seemingly without any fucking anesthetic or pain meds or of any kind, and just seeing the fucking like tools go at it and the blood spurt on the floor. Oh, God. It's so badly good. Goodly bad.
I think another like I think both of our favorite, well, I don't know about yours, but my favorite type of body horror, or like, you know, example of body horror would probably have to come from The Thing.
The Thing is like one of my top 3 movies of all time, probably. Same. It's so good.
Same.
I don't know if it's my favorite depiction of body horror, but it's absolutely close if it's not.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Fun fact, The Thing, like I said, it's probably my top 3 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Definitely a contender for number 1.
For sure.
When I was younger, I couldn't watch it because, not just because I was scared, it was literally because I didn't like watching the dogs.
Oh yeah, the dog part is really sad.
Yeah, it really upset me.
I mean, it's well done for what they're trying to do, but it's definitely like, not that dog.
Yeah, and it's also like way too good of dog acting.
Yeah.
But that's what you get when you have huskies. They're very smart puppies.
They are.
But yeah, I couldn't watch it for the longest time until I finally like got over the idea of like, it's a movie, it's not real.
I totally get that, especially us being so empathic. It's
and
hard
like
to...
loving dogs and cats
so
and stuff.
Much.
Yeah.
Oh god, it is sometimes you really have to just repeat to yourself, it's just a movie. It's just a movie. This didn't actually happen.
It's like oh fuck. Oh shit, which one is it?
Oh shit.
I think it's The Last House on the Left, maybe, that had the motto, it's like, to avoid fainting, just keep repeating, it's only a movie, only a movie, only a movie.
I don't think I've ever seen Last House on the Left. I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's a fucked up movie.
What's it about?
It's kind of like one of those like rape revenge-y type of things. It's very fucked up. It's very fucked up.
Sounds like it.
It's one of those movies that, like, even people who love horror, there are some people that's, like, a little too much.
Okay, damn.
Like, I've seen it once. It's great. Don't need to see it again.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
The one with Keanu Reeves being one of them.
Oh, God. No, that one's not even that. That one's not even that.
No.
I'm not glad that movie exists.
Okay, fair enough.
We might talk about that movie later. Knock Knock is one of the worst movies ever made.
Knock Knock, that's what it was called. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Before we get too off track, I did want to ask, you were talking about Upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a movie? Is it a book?
That's a movie.
It's a movie?
Yeah, it's a movie.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's more on the sci-fi action. Okay. But it's been linked in with horror because of that connection with body horror.
That sounds right up my alley. I want to see that.
Yeah, we should definitely watch it sometime.
How old is it?
It's fairly new. I think it was maybe 2019, 2020 maybe.
Oh, wow, okay.
I think it could even be a little newer than that.
I want to catch up on all the like classic like origins of cyberpunk movies with you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with The Matrix. I've seen up to 3, I think.
I think I've only seen like 1 and maybe 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I know.
In The Matrix. And then I've never seen Blade Runner.
I don't think I have either.
Which is like one of the big
That's the
ones.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to catch up on those.
Yeah, for real. When it comes to like The Thing's body horror though, I think the craziest thing about it for me is not just how great the effects look, because that's also insane.
In the Thing?
In The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just how creative it got.
Yeah.
Like that scene, I'm especially thinking of the defibrillator scene.
The defibrillator scene.
So,
it's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, this is like towards the middle-ish of the movie. They kind of have an idea of what's going on. There was actually just if I'm not mistaken, in the movie, there's like a little bit of an argument fight that breaks out, the kind of beginning of the collapse of everyone's like trust in each other. And, during this, issue, one of the members of the team has like a heart attack, and they're trying to like resuscitate him basically. And the doctor grabs defibrillators and he goes to defibrillate the guy, and the dude's chest opens up with teeth and bites his arms off. And then like, the dude's sitting there with no arms screaming, and then he like, eventually passes out. And one of the other guys who was there has a flamethrower, and he starts burning the body. And then the fucking head starts detaching, looking like crazy ass Hubba Bubba gum or something. And then the head grows spider legs and starts walking away.
Oh, the spider leg head. And it's so
creepy. And it's like, the head is, I think, upside down walking like this, which makes it even worse. Oh. Maybe. I don't know if it's actually worse or not.
It is. It's definitely worse.
And, like, the funniest thing about that scene is just the only thing that one of the characters said, I don't remember who said it, is just one of them looks over and sees this and is just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Because it's like, yeah, what the fuck?
Like, what the actual fuck, dude?
Dude's chest opens up with teeth, bites a guy's arm off, his head, like, melts off, and then grows legs and starts trying to crawl away. What are the rules here?
Yeah, really. Once you, like, the fact that the entity needs only just the head to be able to do that.
I think it's literally just anything, too.
Yeah.
I think it's any kind of, like, living tissue.
Yeah, maybe. Well, especially with the blood scene, it's at least...
Yeah, because it defends itself on, like, a molecular level, because that's how they did the blood scene. Yeah, like, they heated up like a copper wire or something and stuck it in blood, because they realized that, like, it was defending itself on that kind of level. So, like, even the blood is, like, alive.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, ours is, but we're not connected to it in that way.
Yeah, it's alive, but it's like it just does its own thing.
Yeah,
you know?
The fact that it's affected when the blood is outside of the main body completely, but it still has this defense reaction that's such a visceral moment.
It's also a great jump scare.
It's such a good jump scare.
It's such a good jump scare.
It earns the fuck out of that jump scare.
It does, because it's tense.
So tense. Oh, God.
I think actually, like, right before that jump scare is potentially when there's actually, like, a slight moment of levity, too, when they test one of the dude's bloods, and, like, he's not a thing, and he's like, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but if you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of the winter tied to this fucking couch.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, you're good now? We got it.
Can I not be tied to this couch, please?
Yeah. And when it comes to body horror too, I think also another just great example of it to talk about is, of course, The Fly.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm thinking of, I think the one I'm thinking of is the remake with, what's his name? Goldberg, fucking...
What is his first name? The fuck?
It's the Cronenberg version of The Fly, but for some reason I cannot think of this guy's, it's not Mark Goldberg, no. I can't think of his name.
I'm gonna have to Google that.
But yeah, that's also just a classic version. I would say, like, both versions are great. I haven't seen the original, but I do know the differences. I've seen, like, a comparison between the two.
I didn't even realize that wasn't the original.
Yeah, the original's quite a bit different, because in the original, when he goes through the, like, teleportation chamber device thing, whatever it's called, he, like, when he comes out, he has the head and one hand of a fly. Like, he's immediately, like, partially transformed. There's no, like, breaking down of his, like, character.
Jeff Goldblum.
Thank you. Oh my God, Jeff Goldblum. That's his name. I said Goldberg, and that's what threw me off.
Same.
Jeff Goldblum. Thank you. Yeah, David Cronenberg's The Fly with Jeff Goldblum is, like, just a classic example of body horror, and also, like, a very classic example of a very particular type of body horror that, like, is also a look at, like, disease and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of, like, you know, cancer, like, any of these, like, terminal diseases that is either uncurable or extremely difficult to cure, and, like, this kind of like idea of, like, watching either yourself or a loved one just kind of deteriorate and not really being able to do anything about it.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is horrifying, and I think The Fly does that really well. The remake, the David Cronenberg one, is the only one that I really know very well. But like I said, that original, when he steps out of the machine, he already has the head of a fly, and like a hand is like a fly appendage, basically. So like there's not that like deterioration factor. And if I'm not mistaken, that one's also told in like a weird perspective, because it's like the police questioning the wife as to why she killed her husband, because he, just like in the David Cronenberg version, basically like asks for it. Like he's basically like he wants her to kill him because of like, you know, his
how
situation.
Far gone he is.
Yeah. I think the remake does it way better, because that scene as a whole is fucking awful.
It has been a long time since I've seen The Fly. Very long time.
Oh god, the ending is so...
I don't really remember the ending, to be honest.
It's so horrifying, because at this point, he barely resembles a person, and he's like...
I remember what he looked like. He was fucked up looking.
Yeah, he like was like losing his mind also.
Yeah.
And like he like grabbed her for some reason to do something or whatever, and she tried to like push him off and like pulled his jaw off.
Oh my god.
Like it just comes off, and then like the rest of like his skin kind of melts away as like a fly head kind of emerges, and then like a little bit of like a fight kind of happens. I think he goes through the machine again, and it fucks him up even more, and he like has no legs, and he's like crawling towards her. She has like a shotgun or something. Jesus. And he literally just puts the gun to his own head, and it's so upsetting. In like the best way.
Yeah.
In the best way.
See, I never even... This is why I love like media about stuff like this, because I don't put two and two together usually of like, this is an analogy for disease, and like, you know, being that family member on the outside looking in at that helpless situation. Yeah. I'm like, oh wow, that was a good story. Yeah. I like both. I like the actual story it tells, and then if there is a like some kind of analogy or something going on, like I also am very interested in that. See, so am I. I love that kind of stuff. My brain is just not good at picking it up by myself.
Fair enough. That's fair.
And yeah. I hate that, and I've been trying that's for years. I listen to like videos and podcasts about this kind of thing to try and get better at it, to like realize it myself, and I think I slowly am, but I don't know. I think I'm getting better at it, but I don't know. I don't know if I just enjoy being engrossed in something so much that I don't think beyond it.
Yeah, it's like the idea of like living in the moment sort of thing. Yeah,
because I definitely try to live by that philosophy. Well, I don't even really try. That's just kind of how I am for the most part. I'm a very in the moment kind of person, and like, you know, in that moment, I'm just thinking about what's actually happening on screen. But then I go back later, I'm like, oh yeah, that did have more meaning than crazy guy turned into fly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That one's also so good just because of like the arc that it has too.
Yeah, because when he first, like the very first time he comes out of the machine, he's like rejuvenated feeling, right?
Yeah, he's
like all agile and shit.
Yeah, he gets like super strong, like unnaturally strong, and like fit and hot. He gets hot.
I mean, that's just Goldblum.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. But yeah, he's just like super buff all of a sudden, and like starts to get like, you know, just ridiculously fit, but he also starts like mentally changing. Like he becomes more like agitated and like aggressive and stuff. And like it's the beginning of like this character, I forget the girl's name, the woman's name in that movie, but like his love interest, like her first hints of it is that he starts acting out and like kind of lashing out at people and stuff. Yeah. And like acting very aggressive. And then I think he also gets like a really bad like sugar cravings. There's like a scene where they're in like a coffee shop and he's just spoonfuls of sugar into his coffee just nonstop while he's talking to her.
Very fly thing to do.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, he just starts suddenly like physically deteriorating. And, you know, at first he's like super aggressive for no reason, like cranky and like, you know, just irritable. And then all of a sudden he like starts breaking down physically and mentally, and like he starts becoming scared, and you know, now, and like she's terrified obviously, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse until eventually, you know, it gets to the point where it's like, okay, you know, put me out of my fucking misery.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting put out of your fucking misery, the moment I think I've got the most chills from any horror media that I can think of like recently is when I decided to listen to I think it's like around 45-minute audiobook reading of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. The end of that audiobook reading is just chilling. It is absolutely chilling. Because it's told from the point of view like of the character. It's like self-narrated. Mm-hmm. So like you're in the mind of the protagonist who survived the story.
Right. Kind of.
Yeah. Well, no, he does survive.
Yeah, technically.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, he's technically alive. It's just an unfortunate thing that he is.
Yeah.
If you don't know I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, it is an extremely bleak but well-written short story.
And unfortunately, just getting more and more relevant as time goes on.
Kinda. Yeah. It's about, like, the last 5 people on Earth who basically just live in this apocalyptic world ran by this, like, evil supercomputer AI who, for some reason, just has actual godlike capabilities. Like literally godlike capabilities. He turns one of the like before the story even begins, he turns one character into like essentially an ape man, like a Neanderthal, pretty much like a caveman. And like he like controls the world basically somehow. It was if I'm not mistaken, it's like a bunch of different countries built their own like super AI computer for war. And then all of them merged into one being who called himself Am, which comes from the motto, I think, therefore I am. And he just kills every single person in the world except for these 5 people, completely random people, have nothing to do with anything, and he just keeps them alive and tortures them. By the time the story begins, they have been tortured now for I think 200 years or something. And like they won't die. Like it seems to be impossible. But at the end of the story, the whole story is about them trying to find this like canned food that is supposed to be a thing, which is probably just the computer fucking with them.
It's like the cake being a lie.
Yeah. But no, the canned food was real, but there was no can opener to open it.
Oh, that's so fucked.
Yeah. And like in that moment, the main character realizes like he finds a way so he can kill everybody. He just grabs these like giant icicles and just starts spearing everyone to kill them because Am can't bring them back to life. Like the whole thing is like Am is like God, but he's not quite a god. He can't bring life, he can only bring death because that's what he was created for, and that's part of his issue. Like he's like pissed at the idea that the only reason he exists is to like for violence basically. And that's part of the reason why he's doing what he's doing.
So he's kind of just rebelling against the humans for making him the way he is.
Pretty much, yeah. But obviously, by the end of the story, the protagonist can't kill himself. He was able to kill everyone else, but he couldn't kill himself. So Am transforms him into this crazy, like, weird slug monster thing.
Yeah.
That is, like, impossible to describe. Like, he's, like, yeah, just, like, a crazy, like, weird slug creature.
It's, like,
that
just like
also,
a lump of flesh.
Yeah, like a lump of slimy flesh that also has no actual concept of time.
Yeah.
Like, he can't tell the difference between 7 seconds and, like, 10 years. Like, there's no concept for him of time. And the last words of the like, his last thoughts to the reader before the story is over is just the title, I Have No Mouth, and I Must Scream. And like the way the narrator says it is chilling. Like I got chills thinking about it. It's it's a crazy story.
And I've never read or listened to the actual entire story, but I've like watched videos about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of know.
Ryan Hollinger has a great video about this story. He talks a little bit about the author too, and like his mindset. The guy seems to be this type of person who really just does not trust humanity with technology at all.
I don't blame him, to be honest.
Yeah. There was a clip in that Ryan Hollinger video where like he's being interviewed, and the interviewer is like, you often set your stories in like a ruined world, and he's like, you seem to set them in our world, but in like such a horrible, like, you know, violent, ruined world. And he's like, well, that's what I think. that's what I believe
is going to happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, have you heard how, kind of off topic from body horror for sure, but like, have you heard like all the advancements that people like were making in AI technology? I mean, you've seen like the memes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you've also seen how much better AI has gotten. But of course, that's just like, you know, you train it on a model and then you tell it what you want and it kind of remixes it into what you ask for.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have its own intelligence, but the fact that it's gotten so good and there are so many people working on it, like we've reached basically stage 1 was like the memeable shit where it was just like, you know, putting like 2 fingers on a hand and like everything was all fucky looking.
Yeah.
To now where it's like, okay, it's actually doing what we want it to do is like stage 2.
Yeah.
And stage 3 is coming up even quicker. Because, especially, well, for one, because technology development in general works on, like, an exponential increase. Like, the beginning is always slow, but then it just exponentially gets more and more advanced.
Yeah, as you start piecing things together.
Right.
It's literally like making a puzzle.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. So the possibility of like general intelligence at this point, a lot of experts are saying that it's probably just a matter of time and that there's not really anything anybody can do about it.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
But back to body horror.
What, you don't want to talk about AI?
Maybe in another episode.
That'd be fun.
There's plenty of AI horror stuff. Like, I mean, you know, even like just the Terminator, I think is perfect for that. Mm-hmm. Is the Terminator horror?
Yeah, I would say so.
I think the first movie is a horror movie.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the only one I think I've seen.
Yeah, after Terminator, I think it's like Alien, basically. Like Alien, horror movie. Aliens, more action movie. Still horror, though.
Yeah. I saw the first one, and then whichever one has like the silver Terminator that can like liquefy and like doesn't get burned and shit.
I don't remember which one that is.
Those are the two I can remember seeing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah.
You also mentioned Dead Space. I don't know anything about Dead Space, and I want to play it.
Dude, we have to play Dead Space. It's so good. Dead Space, I've always been a horror fan ever since I was a little kid. But Dead Space, it was one of the few like horror related media that actually scared the shit out of me.
Really?
But it was so good that I couldn't put it down. I loved it so much. When I discovered Dead Space, only the first game had been out.
Right.
And then I found like a book that was like kind of an offshoot, like a side story, I guess, of it. And I read that book, and that opened up more of the lore. But you don't know anything about it, so I don't know how much I want to go into Dead Space.
Yeah, I know like next to nothing about Dead Space. My horror game when I was a kid, or horror series, I guess, was Fear.
Which I've heard good things about, but I don't really know much about it, and I never played it.
Yeah, that was my like horror series games was Fear, and then I guess like Resident Evil kind of after Resident Evil 4, but you know, most stuff after Resident Evil 4 is hit or miss. Yeah. And also, it becomes a little bit more action-y for most of it. But I didn't really get into Dead Space, and that's upsetting because it seems so good.
2 was okay, 3 was meh, but 1 one was like peak horror game. It's like probably best horror game I've ever played.
Damn. I think part of it too is like I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan. Like I definitely like sci-fi things. I think Mass Effect is a brilliant game.
Oh, Mass Effect is S tier.
Mass Effect's awesome, and like there are some like sci-fi games that and like movies and stuff that I enjoy, but for the most part, I not the biggest sci-fi fan. When it gets into like certain elements, I guess.
And now that I'm thinking about it, Mass Effect has some body horror too.
A little bit.
Especially in 1 with the fucking
that plant thing?
Plant thing. Oh yeah, with the plant thing? Yeah. I was thinking of how they make husks.
The husks. That's great. Yeah. I forgot about that, where husks come from.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Mass Effect, great game. It's Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, and then Andromeda. Mm-hmm. And they're working on a 4.
Yes, I believe so.
Which I think is taking like 100 years or something in the future, maybe. I think it's like even more into the future.
I don't know if they even have a time frame, but it's like, well, they might have. I actually haven't looked up anything on that. I don't know if they have anything new, but yeah, it's going to take place after 3.
Yeah. In that game, in that world, there are these AI like robot creations called Geth. And they are pawns of a bigger threat that you find out later in the game. And one of the things that they do is they make what's called husks. And the way they do that is by taking like colonists, just people, and like impaling them on these giant spikes, which then like overrides them or something.
It seems to like infuse them with like cybernetics.
Yeah,
but like in the process, they completely lose their minds and personalities, and they don't even talk. They just kind of scream.
Yeah,
they basically turn them into like robot zombies.
Yeah, they're literally just robot zombies, and that's how they're treated in game too. Like they're an enemy that the game will throw a large amount of them at you at once.
Yeah,
as like an ambush or something. And then, like, maybe have the other enemies come, like, shortly after that.
Mm-hmm. They have that classic situation where you can, like, lob off a limb or two, but if they're not dead, they're still coming at you, just crawling after you and shit.
That one's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a terrifying one. Like, oof. Because the spikes are huge, and they're terrifying.
Gigantic.
Well, I think they're even called, like, dragon something.
I think they're called dragon teeth.
Yeah. And also, completely randomly, I just thought of another great example of body horror. Fucking Half-Life 2.
Oh, yeah?
The head crabs.
Oh, yeah. Because they,
zombies.
Like, latch on to people and turn them into, like, zombies, right?
Yeah, the zombies. But the craziest thing, fun fact for those of you who don't know a ton about Half-Life lore, the zombies may or may not be actually conscious.
Yeah.
Because some people, this is like super old news, this isn't even like news, but people found out if you take the zombie sounds and reverse them, that the zombies are actually like screaming for help.
In reverse.
Yeah, in reverse. It's terrifying. It's so terrifying to think about. Because also, when you look at the zombies, too, I always wonder how they get that way.
Like in games and stuff in general?
No. Like, in Half-Life 2 specifically, the zombies have a very specific look. Obviously, you know, for a video game, especially of this type, or of this time in Half-Life 2, it's like mid-2000s, I think, maybe, when this game's made.
Maybe even earlier.
Maybe even earlier. You know, they create a zombie, and then, like, that model is just used for all the zombies of that type anyway.
Yeah.
But in-game, the actual look of the zombies is crazy. Because, like, when you actually look at them, the head is, like, if you shoot a head crab off of a zombie, the head is, like stretched out and like looking straight up. Basically, the jaw looks dislocated. It looks like something out of The Grudge or something.
Oh god.
And then like the zombie is covered in blood. The like torso is cut open with like all the organs being shown. They're like all on like the organs are on display.
Oh God.
I don't know how that happens. The zombie's hands are also complete bone. There's no flesh or anything there, and the fingers look elongated, like they're claws or something. Like it looks like someone took an actual hand and like filed down the palm and like made the fingers longer.
Oh God.
That's how the zombies look. Like and like there's all kinds of crazy little details, and like the more you think about it, the more you're like, okay, if this person is actually conscious, there's no way they're not in excruciating pain.
Yeah, really.
And then not to mention like they're kind of tanky.
Really?
Like they're a bit tanky. Obviously, you know, like a 357 to the head crab will kill them. But like yeah, they're like if you were trying to kill them with body shots, you're going to be wasting a lot of ammo.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is how zombies work, obviously.
Usually.
Yeah.
Depends on the game.
Fair enough.
But that's pretty often the case, yeah.
But yeah, and then you also got like the fast ones, which the fast head crabs are the creepiest in my opinion.
Are those the ones that like jump around and shit?
I mean, they all jump around. That's what head crabs do. Or you mean the zombies?
The zombies.
Yeah, they're the ones that like lunge at you and shit.
Those
look like skeletons.
Legit.
Like they're literally like more bone than they are flesh. But the fact that they have any flesh at all makes them even worse.
Uh-huh.
And then they're like super fast.
The
they
fact
howl.
that it's not just a skeleton.
Yeah. The fact it's not just a skeleton. But yeah, like they howl and everything.
Yeah.
And like scream at you. And then you also got the poison zombies.
Oh,
and
yeah,
those ones, like,
they
have a crazy sound, too, that sounds like an animal more than a person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this weird groan or something. And then they have, like, the poison head crabs on them, which look like, what are those, like, crabs called? Spider crabs in real life?
Oh, like the long-legged ones?
Oh, no, those are the fast zombies. The fast head crabs are the ones that look like that.
Oh, okay.
But, like, the poison ones, like, they're, like, bulky and shit, and they like hiss at you and stuff.
Oh, what the fuck?
And like the poison head crab has like 3 or 4 of them on him because he'll throw them at you.
Oh, wow.
And like the poison head crabs take you down to 1 health through all your shields and stuff. You eventually like heal because the idea is that the poison head crab like it literally poisons you to 1 health, but then like your suit administrates like anti-venom.
Oh,
and it slowly heals you. It's really cool, but it's also terrifying.
Yeah, I bet. Especially in the moment when you're fighting them and shit. Oh, yeah. Jesus.
I love that game.
Yeah, and I kind of know a little bit of this stuff because I've played like a little bit of Half-Life before, and Phinn has shown me some videos, especially of Ravenholm, it's called,
We
right?
don't go to Ravenholm yet.
Yeah.
I actually want to do a podcast episode about this level in general, just because like I showed Kirrianna it and she didn't quite get it,
No.
but it is one of my favorite like horror levels in a non-horror game because of the build up leading to it and then that dramatic shift of like tension that happens in the game itself. Like it's one of those you kind of have to play it in order to understand it. But I would love to talk about like the build up leading to that mission and then that mission itself because it's so cool and like such a good horror level in a game that's meant to be just like an action adventure basically.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I enjoy hearing you talk about it more than I did the gameplay footage.
That's fair.
Partially, I'm sure, because I don't have the context of like what came before.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that kind of horror is like the build up, right?
Yeah.
Especially when, like you said, it's not that kind of game, but then you encounter that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And especially like back in the day, you know, it didn't look as dated. And I think that helps too.
Definitely.
So you have the memories of like, you know, when it was in its heyday.
Right.
So, but I'm totally down to do a podcast episode about it.
It's also like fairly early in the game too.
Oh, really?
Like it's like maybe chapter 3-ish.
Oh, and it's
chapter 2, chapter 3.
Throwing like 3 different subtypes of head crab at you.
Exactly.
Oh,
And like
wow.
there's only ever been like maybe 1 random zombie encounter up until this point. And then all of a sudden you're just fighting nothing but zombies in this like rundown town that doesn't even look like people ever existed.
Yeah. Mr. Priestman is like, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Yeah, he literally Mr. Priestman with the shotgun. All right, quick short break there for a bathroom, but to get back on topic of body horror, you know, we talked about the one type of body horror with like The Fly, where it's just kind of like you get this idea of like a metaphor of like your body kind of breaking down and changing and not being able to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also like when people think of body horror, the main type of like body horror they think of is stuff like Saw.
Yeah.
And things like that, which to me it's a less scary version of body horror, and I kind of want to get your opinion on that. Like stuff like Saw, Hostel, Wolf Creek, any of those like the torture porn variety of horror. And I'm very curious as to like what your actual opinion is on that kind of horror, because to me it gets a little less scary.
Yeah, I would agree. I think body horror is done best when it has like something other than just bodily harm involved.
Yeah.
It's gotta have that wrongness feeling. It's gotta have like, cause like Saw type of body horror is just visceral.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's very one note, and it can be done well.
I think the first one is the best.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Which, you know, that's kind of what happens with most stuff.
I will say the fucking needle pit scene sticks with me.
I have like an actual like phobia of needles, like,
and I'm not a fan of them.
Yeah,
either.
Like getting blood drawn, getting any kind of shot, like even just getting a flu shot, I have to look away.
Yeah.
Like I hate needles. So yeah, the pit scene, the needle pit in Saw 2 definitely stuck with me. But yeah, even then, like, that's, you know, to me, that's like you're playing into like a phobia of mine.
Yeah.
So like that's like, okay, you're kind of cheating, it feels like.
Yeah, fair. It does feel very one note. Like it doesn't. I've seen up until the recent ones came out, I saw every Saw movie, and I only remember the first one.
Yeah.
I remember some of the, like, you know, stuff that happened with what is his name, Kramer in the shows?
In the movies?
Yeah.
The like Jigsaw himself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember some of the intrigue around him, and like there was a replacement killer and all that kind of stuff, but like the actual, yeah, but the actual like traps and shit, I only remember the first one. Yeah,
the reverse bear trap, obviously.
Yeah, the sawing his leg off in the bathroom.
Yeah, the dude sawing his leg off in the bathroom.
Jigsaw being like in the bathroom the whole time as the corpse. Like I remember all that stuff.
Yeah,
but everything else, it just doesn't stick with me. Like, but like The Thing, it's been years since I've seen The Thing, but like a lot of the main story beats still stick with me because it's.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I don't know, shit hit different.
It does. I think the thing with me is like, with when it comes to like body horror like that, it just comes down to like sadism, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which like is effective. Like it can be very effective.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I almost forgot about one of the other craziest instances of body horror. Seven. Have you seen Seven?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think I've seen it once. It was so long ago, and I don't remember a whole lot of it.
Uh-huh.
It's and if I'm not mistaken, that's where the "What's in the box" meme comes from.
What's in the box?
I'm pretty sure it's the same. It's the same movie.
Okay, if that is the movie, then I have not seen it.
It's more of like a cop thriller than it is a horror, but it still counts. I've seen a lot of people loop it in with horror because it is horrifying, and it's just this guy who like kills people in ways related to the 7 deadly sins.
Oh, okay.
And I forget which sin it was, but one of the sins is like they walk into this room. It's this guy's bedroom, and there's just like the pine air freshener trees.
Oh yeah, like the
little
classic car air fresheners.
Yeah, they're like hanging everywhere, and there's this like dude in bed, like he looks like a corpse. And if I'm not mistaken, he was like a child molester. He had like child pornography, like something involving being like a pedophile or pedophile like person or like sex offender of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the like investigator guys, he's like looking at him and stuff. And this dude looks all fucked up. I don't know what they did to him. I don't remember. And like he tells him, you got what you deserved. And then the dude starts coughing like he's still fucking alive. But this guy looks like death.
Damn.
Like he does not look like he should be alive at all.
Yeah.
And then you also
emaciated type shit.
Yeah, and like I think he even had like weird sores and stuff on. I don't know what the fuck the dude did to him. I can't remember. There's also gluttony, where this dude like had to eat himself to death with like beans or something.
Oh my god.
Which is also disturbing.
Yeah, that's pretty horrifying.
Like that kind of stuff I feel like is more effective than, what you got like in a lot of like the Saw movies and Hostel and stuff.
Yeah.
But you said during the little break we had that you had something to talk about with Elden Ring, a very specific character, question mark?
Yes, a very specific character. Kind of the quest line of the character.
Okay, who is it?
So I wanted to talk about Praetor Rykard in Elden Ring, especially when it comes to body horror. And to kind of give context as to why it's so visceral, I kind of wanted to give a little overview of the entire quest line. So when you played, you got to the Liurnia of the Lakes area, right? Where it's like a blue lake.
Yeah.
And there's like the little crawly dudes.
The Glintstone Academy and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you meet the hunched over blonde chick with the buns named Raya with like the green robe? Yeah, you met her?
Yes.
Okay, and she invites you to the Volcano Manor after you get the necklace from...
I've gotten fairly close to the Erd tree.
Okay.
Like the center.
Oh,
like
so
the
you got
Erd
to
tree.
like Landell, like the holy looking area.
Close. I've gotten like within that area, not very deep into it though.
Okay, so
like
you're
that
pretty...
big city.
Yeah.
Area.
So you got to where I am in my current playthrough.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, you actually got fairly far then, to be honest.
I forgot what build I did with that.
Was that the...
I think it was like a strength battle axe or something, maybe.
Yeah, sounds like you.
Yeah.
He just jumped up on the bed, so cute. He like pounced, but like it was a pounce.
That's adorable.
But yeah, so Raya invites you to the Volcano Manor after you get her necklace from Big Barger Blackguard.
Yeah.
And he sells you prawns.
Yes.
So once you use the Grand Lift of Dectus, she's just chilling like right at the lift, and she can teleport you straight to Volcano Manor that she invites you to.
Mm-hmm.
And Volcano Manor, upon coming there, you meet Lady Tanith, who is like she's kind of the figure that like the acting figurehead of Volcano Manor.
Mm-hmm. The matriarch or whatever.
Yeah. And in the game, she is the like consort, which is just kind of like the wife of Praetor Rykard, his name is, and he was one of the demigods. I don't know if he was the child of... I think he was the child of Radagon and Renala. Yes, because he would have the prefix Rykard. So I think he's... Yeah. But either way, he was a demigod, but he rejected the Greater Will and the Erd Tree and the Golden Order. And so he set up Volcano Manor. And when you first get there, Tanith is like, yo, this is a place where we hunt our fellow Tarnished. Like, you will be killing your own people. And you have to be okay with that. And if you're not, that's cool. But you gotta fuck off.
I like that way, yeah.
Yeah.
This is what it's like. If you like it, you're here. If you don't like it, you gotta leave.
Yeah. And did you met the guy in the little shack that sells you Ashes of War, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's in the Volcano Manor. When you get to Volcano Manor, you find him there.
Oh.
With a new weapon and a helmet that he didn't have on before. And if you met him before, he's like really emphasizes like, you better know what the fuck you're doing here, because insert the foreshadowing is relatively obvious meme here. This is blasphemy and will only lead to a horrible death or something like that. And you go through this like fairly extensive quest line where you are invading other Tarnished's world and killing them, and then you come back and get rewarded. And Tanith, every time you come back and she rewards you, keeps telling you that like you should keep rising in the ranks because then you can meet Praetor Rykard, who like you would expect you would be like a higher ranking member of the Volcano Manor, and you're like making great strides because the entire purpose of the Volcano Manor is to like overthrow the Erd Tree eventually, basically, because Praetor Rykard wants to like eat the gods and eventually the entire world. But what actually ends up happening is they just recruit strong warriors for Rykard to eat and to like incorporate into his own strength. So when you go into the boss room, you're expecting this like lordly, like they've got pictures of him up around Volcano Manor. He looks like this very distinguished Night King.
Okay.
But you get in there, motherfucker like strikes out at you as this giant snake, misses you, and then like the snake is, on the ground like a snake normally would, and then it vertically rises up and his face is on the belly of the snake. This motherfucker decapitated himself, fed himself to a great snake god as a demigod himself to merge with the great snake, and now he's just this disgusting conglomerate of a coiled up snake with arms and legs that's so huge it's a wonder he doesn't collapse under his own weight. And then when you get to it's a boss fight when you meet him, like you're supposed to, be getting these laurels of a lord,
right?
But he just wants to eat you, so he attacks you right away. And he legit, with his ugly ass purple hand with all these like royal rings on it, shoves his hand into the snake's mouth and pulls out this disgusting, writhing red sword that is the sword that he had when he was a demigod lord, but now it's just covered in the bones and sinew and blood of all of the champions that he has devoured and enveloped into his own power. And you can literally, all over his body, you just see these writhing, wriggling little limbs of all, like, the thousands of other Tarnished that he has just devoured. And he just, like, he doesn't even go outside. He doesn't even, like, accomplish his goals. He's become so serpentine that he's just, like, stuck in this gluttony circle of just feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding, and he's always talking about eating the gods and eating the world itself, but like at this point it seems like he's so much more focused on the eating aspect than his actual previous aspirations. Even he had his own knighthood that served him, and like they were like, okay, what he wants to do is blasphemy, but he's doing it for a good purpose, so we'll still serve him. But after a certain point, they were like, this is so disgusting that I can't even fucking abide by this anymore, dude. And in fact, you get the weapon that you kill him with from one of his previous knights, because he's just so fucked up.
I've never seen this before. You're gonna have to show me a video of this after the podcast.
It's crazy, dude. And he's always referred to as Blasphemous Rykard, because it's just like, it's this absolute blasphemy that he's doing. And like, not to mention that he has like torture dungeons, because when he was trying to figure out as a regular lord how to manipulate his own body to becoming even more powerful so that he could overthrow, the order of the world. Because I mean, he's going up against basically the ultimate power of the lands between. So he needed strength for sure, but he's torturing Albinorics because they were made by humans, and he's trying to figure out how they work so that he can use their same principles as to how they were created, like how they created life, to manipulate his own body to become more powerful. And then he also, this motherfucker, When his soldiers turned on him, do you know what he fucking did? This is pretty visceral, but he basically got this very degenerate woman to have as many children as she could with a snake, which created an entire race of half snake, half human people.
Okay.
That are now his soldiers.
Wow.
And one of the side quests in the Volcano Manor is the chick that invites you there, Raya. She's bent over like that because she is one of the serpent human hybrids.
Oh.
But she doesn't know that.
Wait, she doesn't?
She knows that she's a serpent human hybrid, obviously, but she doesn't know where she came from.
Oh.
Because Rykard is just like in this little... not little, but he's in a giant chamber, like, in the back, in the way back of the cathedral. Like, in the front is Tanith, and Tanith, like, raised her like her own child. Like, that's her mother. And Tanith tells her that, you were noble born of a great king, and don't think about it. But as part of her quest line, like, you can tell her where she actually comes from. You can you give her something called Serpent's Amnion, and she smells it, and she's like, those are my pheromones. I was born from that. And then she goes into the area where you found it and finds out the truth that she's basically, an abomination in the eyes of everyone in the world.
Yeah.
And she commits suicide.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because it's like one of the ultimate acts of blasphemy in that world.
Yeah.
And kind of in ours too. Like, it's all just all kinds of fucked up. Like, there's so much body horror in that little
I did not even know that
slice of the world. Yeah.
We are getting a little. We're about an hour in. We did have a little intermission there that I'm gonna have to cut. But I do want to talk about one last, the one last movie that has body horror in it, but in a much lighter tone, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes. Have you ever heard of Slither?
I've heard of it, but I can't put my finger on what it is. Is it like Tusk?
Not quite. Tusk is also a weird movie. I've never seen it, but
me neither.
I know it's weird.
I've heard things.
I've heard plenty of things. I've seen plenty of things.
Yeah, it's strange.
It looks weird.
It looks strange.
Slither is what's that guy's name that did like Super?
Super?
Yeah, it's like a superhero movie. It's a comedy. James Wan? No, that's different guy, I think.
I don't know.
I'm horrible with names. But yeah, Slither is a horror comedy about these alien. They're like slugs that come into Earth, and they like get into you, usually like through your mouth. And then like it's an alien that essentially like it takes control of your body, and it's kind of like a zombification kind of thing in some ways. And but like it gets to this one guy, and like the movie's kind of funny because you got like multiple storylines going on. The main storyline is obviously the aliens, right? But there's also this subplot of the dude who is like Subject Zero, the one that the aliens got to first. He's having like marriage issues. And so like there's also this weird marriage thing going on between him and his wife. And in the meanwhile, he is currently changing because the alien parasite got into him. And he becomes like essentially the hive mind figure of all of these aliens.
Oh, interesting.
So he literally transforms into a monster. By the end of the movie, he is like taking up half of a giant living room as this mass of meat, and like he's just like a torso and head on this giant glob of meat, which is literally just a bunch of other people who were zombified and like came into this room and like merged themselves with this glob of meat basically. And yeah, before that he's also like, he looks like the what are those enemies called in Fallout with the super mutants?
The centaurs?
The centaurs are like the dog ones, aren't they? Or are they like
centaurs are the ones that like waddle around with all the tongues that
Yeah. He looks like one of those.
Oh god.
He literally looks like one of those. Like his body is just constantly changing throughout the entire movie. But like it's a hilarious movie. It's super fucking funny. And there's also a scene where this girl, I think it's a girl that he like tries to cheat on his wife with or something. He like infects her, and this alien parasite apparently makes you crave meat really bad. Any kind of meat. Just yeah, literally he says that in the movie. Like there's a scene like he opens up the fridge and it's like a POV inside the fridge. He like opens up the fridge and he's like, meat. And it's so funny. But she just starts eating anything and everything. By the time they find her, she is literally taking up the entirety of a barn. She can't move. She is just a head on this giant balloon of a fucking body.
Oh god, like the blueberry girl from Willy Wonka type shit?
Times 5.
Oh god.
And like her like face is like she's like covered in blood because she's like been eating animals and literally just any kind of meat she could get a hold of.
God.
She can't even move anymore. There is a part in this scene which is equal parts disturbing and hilarious where like she like waddles towards everyone in this barn and she's literally like hopping on her belly basically because her limbs don't even touch the floor anymore.
Oh god.
And then she fucking explodes and a bunch of those little like slug things come out.
Jesus, dude.
It's a crazy movie, but the movie's also just super funny. Like we gotta watch it one day.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It's a hilarious movie. It's just so, and it also ends in this weird bittersweet way, because like, you know, at the end of the movie, like yeah, they kill the big guy. You know, they kill the main dude, the big. I think they blow him up with a grenade or some shit.
Oh wow!
But like everybody in that fucking town, aside from like 3 or 4 people in the end of the movie, are dead.
Damn!
Like they killed the big guy. No one comes back. No one comes back to being themselves. They just all drop dead.
Yeah, they all got exploded. Oh, the hive mind is all. Oh god.
Yeah, like everyone that got infected or whatever, like that the parasite took over.
They did.
They didn't like snap out of it or anything. It's not like the parasite died and then they're back to normal. They just all dropped dead.
Damn.
It's like so weirdly bittersweet, but the movie's still funny.
Wow.
I also remember seeing an interview with the director. I can't believe I forgot his name. But I remember seeing an interview with him where like people kept trying to like draw concept art of, I think they literally called her the Brenda Blob or something because her name was Brenda. And he kept being like, no, that's not what she looks like. I'm telling you, she just looks like a giant boob and her head is the nipple. And that's how she looks too. And he just kept rejecting everything until they gave him what he wanted.
That's kind of awesome.
That guy's awesome. That's my type of like person right there. He's like, no. This is a very specific thing. It's boob, head, nipple. Okay? Boob, head, nipple.
Very simple. Make it happen, people.
Yeah, she had to like squeeze into this giant like latex thing so that her head pops out.
Yeah,
it was done practically.
Oh wow,
it's so cool.
That's great.
It looks awesome, and it's so fucking funny. Just the tone is all over the place in that movie. I love it.
When did you watch this?
This was like a while ago. It's been out for quite a while now.
Okay.
I watched it a while ago. I think maybe with my dad.
Wow. So a while ago.
Yeah, like a while ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so fucking funny. It's like it's almost in the same vein as Tremors, if Tremors was like absurd.
Oh, that sounds great.
Because Tremors is, it's pretty down to earth. People are acting pretty normally for the situation.
Yeah.
But like for Slither, it's so fun. Like it's so funny. It's so absurd.
Ups the ridiculousness a few notches.
Because like, yeah, he's like in centaur mode in a field, and they're trying to have his wife like talk to him so that they can like maybe get him or something. And you know, she's in a field talking to this weird Fallout centaur looking creature. She's like, for better or worse, right? And then one of the cops in the background, you know, like gun trained on him. He's like, much fucking worse. It's so fucking funny.
That's awesome. Yeah, we need to watch this now.
We need to watch it. But yeah, that's our impromptu episode about body horror.
What do you feel like the purpose of body horror serves in media?
That's a great question. I think the best purpose of it is when you can do it in that kind of like, and as an analogy for like disease and stuff. I think that's the best. Or like the loss of control of like yourself. I think those are like the two most effective ones. Like I said, I talked about Upgrade before, where it's not so much, and you can also kind of say Invasion of the Body Snatchers is the same way. It's not like visceral body horror, like it's not gory or anything, but it's this idea of like the loss of control of yourself, which I think is very cool. Isn't there like an anime where it's kind of like that? Parasite?
Oh yeah, because
that's almost similar.
In Parasite, it's like most people that have a parasite, they're like alien parasites. It eats their brain and becomes their head.
Oh,
but
I didn't know that.
But the protagonist, I don't remember how it happens. It's been a while since I've seen the anime, but for some reason the alien ends up eating his hand and becoming his hand instead of his head. So the host is still conscious and controls most of his body, but the parasite controls his arm. And like at first it tries to find a way to, you know, off the host and like do it properly, either to that host or somebody else. But then eventually they kind of end up working together and shit.
Yeah, but I feel like it's still somewhat similar. This idea of like losing control over yourself.
Oh yeah.
There's also Evil Dead has that in it.
Oh really?
And I think it's Evil Dead 2, which is when Ash gets the chainsaw hand. He gets the chainsaw hand because he had to cut his own hand off.
Oh damn.
I think it's like his girlfriend, I think, or something, gets like, she becomes a deadite, which is like their version of like zombies, but they're like super strength and shit. They're like supernatural zombies. She like bites him on the hand or something, I think, and then his hand becomes like possessed and starts trying to kill him, like his own hand. So he has to cut his hand off. And so he does it with a fucking chainsaw of all things, because, you know, why not just go for the slowest, most painful way of cutting off a hand? Really? And then he attaches his hand to the chainsaw, and that's how he gets the chainsaw hand.
Wow.
But there is that, like, you know, this idea of like him fighting against his own hand too. There's also a movie called Idle Hands, I think. I've never seen it. It's kind of like more of like a comedy than a horror, but it has horror elements. It has a similar premise where like this dude gets like a possessed hand, and it just like starts acting, you know, on its own accord. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff really freaks me out, though.
Like losing control of yourself.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is when like that. I think that's why it's so effective, is because the idea of me not being able to control my own body is just so horrifying.
Yeah, I think body horror is very good at hammering home the horror of very primordial fears.
Yeah.
Losing your control of yourself, disease that you can't do anything about. Even like existential horror can be explored with body horror.
Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah. I never really... When I was younger, I was pretty much only into like supernatural type horror.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I can appreciate body horror a lot more.
I love body horror, but like I said, when it's like I think the least effective is just torture porn.
Yeah.
Like, that has to be done super well for it to be good. And it like, that would have to be... I don't even know how to describe, or like, you know, like how to...
I think it's very shock-based.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's extremely shock-based. And I think for something like that to work, it would have to be like that would be very antagonist based, I think. Like, you would have to have a really, really good antagonist for that to work.
Yeah.
I think that's why, for me anyway, Saws doesn't work very well, because I don't buy John Kramer very well. Like, he's a great antagonist in his own way, but not to, like, carry that
many movies.
Yeah, and like that premise of, like, sticking people in crazy traps and, like, making them cut their arm off or whatever to survive.
To fucking, like, make them appreciate their lives more. Like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
Have you ever been through trauma? Like, do you know how this works? Like, yes, you can have traumatic growth, but you can also have PTSD and depression and anxiety and, like, all kinds of things could just get worse.
Yeah. There's also Wolf Creek. I haven't seen Wolf Creek. I've seen clips of it, but I've seen a bunch of videos talking about it. Wolf Creek is basically Australia's version of the torture porn. It's this guy named Mick Taylor who's the antagonist. Mick Taylor. He's a great guy. No, he's fucking horrible, actually. Great character, though. He is like this outback, like, Australian redneck type guy, lives out in the country type thing. He finds the protagonists, their car is, like, broken down or something. And at first, he puts the charm on, and he's like, oh, I can help you tow your car and, get it jumped and get it running again. And, like, he seems very fun. Like, he's, like, a little creepy, but, that's kind of common for someone of his type that doesn't live near people. He's going to be a little socially weird.
Yeah.
Maybe make some inappropriate jokes here and there or whatever.
Yeah.
But, he seems charming and friendly for the most part. And he, I think, like, drugs all of them. And then, like, he, like, ties them all up in, like, various areas in this, like, kill site that he has, pretty much. He uses one as target practice.
Oh, God.
There's a very, like, horrible scene of him taking, I think, a Bowie knife and, like, stabbing one of the female characters in the back and, like, severing her spine to paralyze her. Ooh. And then he makes a head on a stick joke, which is fucked up. But I think, like, for that, like, that to me feels more effective because, for one, this guy does feel like the type. Like I said, I haven't seen the full movie, but I have seen clips of it, and I've seen a lot of videos talking about it. And I've seen, like, the beats and stuff of it. Like, I've seen plenty of clips of that character. He really feels like that kind of character that could and would get away with stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, it is just pure sadism,
mm-hmm.
which is a little less interesting than, like, have, like, someone with an actual motive or something. But I honestly, I feel like sometimes motive makes characters less, like,
mysterious.
Yeah. Less mysterious, but also less effective.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that someone is just this evil to do shit like this for no fucking reason at all.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, at the end of the movie, he doesn't get caught.
Oh, wow.
Only one character survives because he wakes up in a place where the dude has a bunch of, like, attack dogs and, like, guard dogs and stuff. But the dude wakes up and, like, basically just struggles with all of his might to get himself free, and then basically gets found by a random couple driving throughout the outback of Australia. And, like, thankfully they were nice enough to, like, help him, but he doesn't even get away scot-free because he ends up in trial because of his friends going missing, and he was the last person to see them.
Oh, wow.
So he doesn't even, like, he gets away, but one, he's traumatized, and two, now he's being accused of killing his own friends.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. So that's, like, I think that's when you can do that kind of visceral body horror right. Because it's also not super visceral.
Mm.
Like, he's not, like, cutting them open or, chopping limbs off and stuff. He's, like, shooting them and stabbing them and, like, just general violence. It's not, like, meticulous, like, surgical type of stuff, like what you'd get in like Hostel or Saw. And that gives it more of like a raw feel to it. Like he just truly feels like a sadistic fuck that something is wrong with him.
Yeah, I could see why that would be more effective than Saw, because Saw feels, for one, very manufactured with Kramer's supposed motive.
Yeah.
Because his motive just kind of doesn't make any fucking sense.
Part of it, too, is, I think, because when they made Saw 1, that was gonna be it. It was just, like, I don't think there was any plan to actually make any sequels.
Oh, but then
if
they
I
had
remember
success and we're like, ooh, sequel time.
Well, not the director. He didn't want to make another one. They kind of the studio kind of forced it on him.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were like, oh, look, this was successful, make another one. He's like, I don't want to. And they're like, fuck you, too bad.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Read the contract, bitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't want to make any more. He wanted to just make that one.
Makes sense.
Which, explains why it's way better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's our episode on body horror.
That is our body horror episode.
Our very impromptu episode.
Surprisingly long impromptu episode.
Surprisingly long, yeah. So, you're gonna do, what is it, Roanoke Ridge?
Yes, Roanoke Ridge will be my next topic. So we're thinking, since I came up with the idea for body horror for this episode, that you would do the next episode? Is that how you want to do it?
Yes, so next episode will be mine, and then the episode after that will be Roanoke Ridge, which is Wendigos and stuff, right?
You'll see.
Okay. Fair.
You'll see.
My next episode, a little interesting, a little more of a general topic, but I want to do an episode covering, like, horror and music, and like the kind of connection between horror and music. So what that means is, one, what makes music creepy.
Okay.
We'll talk a little bit about that. We might talk about some famous, like, horror movie scores and just horror scores and, like, horror music in general.
Ooh.
But also, in secular music, horror themed genres. So the main two I can think of right now off the top of my head, I feel like there's more, but I could be wrong, is horrorcore, which is a rap genre that focuses on horror. And then also there's horror punk, which is exactly as it sounds. It's punk music, punk rock, with horror themes.
I did not know about horror punk.
Have you heard of the Misfits?
Yeah.
Horror punk.
Really?
Yes.
I've heard of them and I see the face all the time.
Oh yeah, that's a great logo.
It is a great logo.
I was gonna ask, as like a design, like a graphic designer type person, like how do you feel about that logo that you've seen it? That crazy skull face.
Technically, technically from a technical standpoint, it's pretty simplistic, but goddamn is it iconic.
Yeah, it's great. It's so great.
Like, I'm fairly certain I had one or two of their shirts as a kid, not even knowing that it was a band.
Yeah, it's great.
Just looks
it's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love their logo. So yeah, we're going to talk about horror music and horror in music. This is I want to do this because it's very, in particular, interesting to me as someone who makes music that is very horror. Inspired by horror.
Yeah.
And like my music in and of itself is kind of like horror themed. I call it horrorcore trap. I don't know if that's a real genre. It's basically just dark trap, but I like having horror themes in it. So like sampling horror movies or just having spooky melodies and stuff.
Yeah. And
like an overall spooky theme. So yeah, next episode we're going to talk about music. I'm excited. Are you?
I am.
All right, awesome.
I actually have a couple things I would like to add to that as well.
Oh, to horror music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this has been the Fox and Fish podcast, the impromptu episode for body horror, your home for all things spooky, creepy, and horrifying. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this episode wasn't too rambly, but we are. I do have us categorized under leisure. So
so that's our cop-out?
So that's our cop-out, yeah. Nah, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys later.